Hello, everyone, and welcome back to part 3 of our audio engineering basics session here at the Georgia Department of Education Community for Music Technology. Okay, we have talked about gain setting on your audio interface preamp. We've talked about equalizing, and now we're going to go into the scariest one of them all, and that is the compressor. And this is a really good reason why you might not want to have your gain stage slam right out the top of the charts on a particular function. So I'm going to undo a bunch of steps that were already done to this project in order to try to get back to, nope, it's not going to go back even far enough. Boo. To where we started, and all I'm going to do is renormalize this back down to roughly a negative 16. Okay, so this is where our vocal currently was, and I'm wanting to apply some compression to this vocal. Nothing else happening, just some compression. So I'm going to come into my dynamics category and choose my compressor. Now, I really like the Logic compressor for being able to do this type stuff because of the graph feature right here. So you'll see the audio is still in that we've been using in the other videos.
One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
And what you see here are 5, really 6 controls, but 5 that are extremely important. You have the threshold, the ratio, the makeup gain, the attack, and the release. Now, for our purposes, I'm going to turn the threshold all the way up, the ratio to 1, and leave the makeup gain at 0. What this means is that nothing is changing about my audio. I'm going to go ahead and blow this up and make it a little bigger so that you can see it. So if you imagine this graph right here as an input to output position, right now the graph is y equals x. For whatever comes in, that's the same thing that's going out. And this is what it sounds like.
One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
So you can see that the audio is peaking at about negative 21, negative 16. That's where we told it to peak at on our normalization. So somewhere up in this category. So the first thing I can do is set my threshold and say that I don't want anything, or I want things that are louder, I should say, than negative 20 dBs to be affected in volume. So now the threshold is set at negative 20, but you don't see anything happen until the ratio actually begins to come in. And when you see the ratio come in, right at negative 20, the upper line is going to start to bend. Meaning, for instance, if I set my ratio at 2 to 1, for every 2 decibels that I go above negative 20, the resulting output sound is only going to be 1 decibel over negative 20. So the threshold point is set at negative 20. And now, if it's at negative 18 on the input, it's going to output at negative 19. Or if it went all the way up to negative 10, it's going to output at negative 15. So for every 2 that it goes over, it only goes over actually in a 1 dB over rating. And you can increase that threshold. 2 to 1 is light compression, 4 to 1 is medium, 8 to 1 is getting heavy, 12 to 20 is very heavy, and the closer you get above 20 is essentially what we call limiting, or setting a point at which that really doesn't get any louder than that point. So let's look at a 4 to 1 ratio. Now, at this ratio, if I go over negative 24 decibels, so say I get up to negative 16, it's actually going to back off approximately 3 decibels of the sound and actually come out at negative 19. So to make this happen most, I'm going to turn my attack speed all the way up and watch what happens here.
1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
Now, there are just barely any moments that go over that point. So you're not really getting much compression at all. I'm actually going to push up the input level on this just a little bit and see if we can't drive that a little harder.
1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
And right there, you saw a little bit of peak happen. So I'm even going to just back the threshold down a little bit to really make this engage.
1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
And what you're seeing over here now is a decibel reduction. How much is it reducing as it goes over? So one more time.
1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
So it was coming in at roughly
1 fish,
negative
2
8
fish,
and leaving at
red
negative
fish,
26.
blue fish.
So we were getting a significant amount of gain reduction there. Now, why would you want that? Maybe you don't want the pops at the beginning of the sound. Maybe you want to even out the vocal performance so that you can put the whole performance a little louder, and those times when the singer pushed a little bit will be brought down. Those times that they weren't will be released to be their full volume, and all of that can happen. Now, there's a significant reduction in volume happening here, which is important to note, and that's where makeup gain comes into play. So you can actually push everything back up using makeup gain.
1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
So now I've been able to actually level out those volumes to be approximately the same thing because I've added this makeup gain, or the ability to get it back up closer to where it was. So it's a different sound. I'll play it once with the compressor on, once with it off.
1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
Now I'll remove the compressor.
1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
So there's a good difference in the fullness of that sound that is being provided by the compressor in this instance. So there are lots of knobs here. The knee is how sharp this threshold point is. A more rounded knee would look like that, so it doesn't have a quick transition as opposed to the sharp transition. And then attack and release. So I like to talk to my students about compressors like this. Say you're playing your music too loud in your bedroom and your mom gets mad. The point at which your mom gets mad is the threshold, right? So the moment it goes above your mom's anger level, you have surpassed the threshold. When she opens the door and tells you to turn it down, how fast you react to her is the attack time. So do you instantly reach over and turn it down, or do you wait a second like, yeah, mom, fine, whatever, and then reach over and turn it down? That's the attack time. Do you want to let a little bit of that pop come through and then reduce it, or do you want all the pop to be taken out in the sound? So a decision to be made based on attack time. Now we're talking milliseconds here, so still pretty fast reaction. The ratio then is how much you turn it down. Do you actually turn it down all the way to the volume that she doesn't get mad, or you just turn it down part of the way till she doesn't get mad, right? So how far down to the mad level do you actually get close to? The higher the ratio, the closer you get to the anger threshold. The lower the ratio, the further away you stay from it. And then the release point would be how long after she shuts your bedroom door and walks away is it before you let go of it and let it go back to its full volume. So Those are kind of how I relate those to my students. I hope that kind of makes sense, but I want to show it to you in a few other instances as well. So an important place that you might want to place a compressor is on drums. So here we go, looking at some drum feature. Adding a compressor in. You can instantly see we're getting a lot of dB reduction there. Get a little bit different sound happening as this goes about, for sure. And then we can release the attack time. Change the release times. And this is a lot about playing around to see what begins to happen and work well within this structure. So you can hear there with the compressor off, you get just that huge bass hit that's a little bit overwhelming. As here, it's glued together a little better. It's still punchy, but it just all glues together a little bit more. So I hope you can see it on that. And then let's look at it from maybe a baseline perspective. So maybe you actually want to smooth out this bass line. So there's no compression. So there it keeps the bass at a little more even volume as it goes through. So all together now with those three things compressed, it would begin to sound like this.
One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
I will say that compression is a very mythical beast. To really understand it, you need to work with it a lot and play around with it a lot and use presets and watch videos about it. I just don't want you to be scared to get in there and try these things. A lot of these gain, EQ, and compression are being used on almost every track that comes out of a major production studio. And these are things that the students need to get used to earlier than later and not be scared to get in there and try, because it's the things that's going to take it from just a regular computer generated music product to being a outstanding radio ready type thing. Now, are they going to have to work to figure out how to use it all? Yes, they are going to have to work to figure out how to use it all, but their efforts to practice and manipulate this is going to pay off huge. I hope that you have found this very helpful, or at least an accelerant on your music technology fire to help you get to the point where you're interested in exploring this and reaching out to other resources. I hope this will generate some discussion and we can continue to go in the discussion section of the community about what it means to really use this stuff. But get out there, try it, use it. It's there in Soundtrap. It's there in all the DAWs that are out there, are going to come with an EQ and a compressor. Just try it. I think you'll like it. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.